Hi, I'm Paul. I'm going to talk a little bit more on this video about insight because I quite often get pulled on some of the things that I talk about with people saying that what I talk about is just my thoughts or my opinion. And I'm not really entirely sure that it is, but it seems in a way that a lot of people think that the only way of seeing things is through thought. And I'm going to try and explain a different way, maybe, of seeing things. Let's just say, for instance, I talk about a topic. Let's say boredom. Now, if I said to you, what is boredom? Some of you might say, well, it's when you're lacking focus in some direction, or when you're feeling low or low stimulated. But if I said, tell me more, I'm sure a lot of you might struggle. So maybe you might suggest, well, I'll read on Google, or I'll watch a video, or I'll read some books. But what if I was to say there's another way of doing it? How many people actually said, well, let me just close my eyes and have a look at boredom, see how I feel in boredom? I'm thinking that not many people would have suggested that. But let's just say I look into boredom. So what I do is I sit still, sometimes I close my eyes, and I look into boredom. And I say, what is boredom? What happens at the first point of boredom? Firstly, I would say at the first point of boredom, I would find myself going inwards. It would appear that I would lose my focus outwards, and I would start going inwards. It would seem that I still continue to think, but the thinking has changed. The thinking seems to have less sort of strength to it or purpose. The thinking seems to go a little bit more negative also. Let's just say that I sit with boredom for longer. What happens? I start to feel an agitation. In fact, I start to feel a bit of fear. There's something sort of that pushes me, that says, get up and do something. I need to move. I need to do something. Now I sit with it a little bit longer. I notice that my thoughts seem to lose interest on the outside. I seem to distance. In fact, I seem to lose the ability to be able to focus on something direct. Which seems odd, actually, because if what we're saying in boredom, when we start to get bored, we lose. No, we feel that we're lacking in stimulation. But yet the action of boredom seems to take me away from any stimulation. I seem to lose the ability to find stimulation in the outside world. I carry on going into boredom. Start to get even more anxious, even more frustrated. If I look into this frustration, I start to see something else happening in the brain. It feels like chaos. It seems to be in a different direction than my normal thought outwards. My thoughts are still happening. They're sounding depressive. But there's something else happening in my brain. And they said it was chaos. If I look into this chaos even more, it feels like there's 1,000 electric shocks going off in my brain. But yet, I have no meaning to it. I look deeper and see the electric shocks more like having 1,000 sentences hitting me, but I only get the first word of every one. Feels disturbing. Feels like I'm losing control of my own brain. So it seems like my brain is going chaotic and I have no control. So does this mean that my brain is becoming more hyperactive with 1,000 thoughts at once, but all I'm seeing is probably not even quite the first word? So is my brain becoming more hyperactive? It doesn't feel like it is. It feels like it's becoming kind of less active in one way, and yet a sense of lack of control in another way. What do I mean by less active in one way? It seems that I become less active in what would seem like a positive thought, a focus on something, maybe focus on friends or what I'm supposed to do tomorrow or what I'm going to eat or so on. This seems to have ended and I can't find my way back there. So I've lost focus. I'm losing the ability to stay in one place, which seems to be opening up some other part of my brain. Now let's just throw that the other way around. So I'm losing focus. What happens? Well, first I'm losing focus and it seems to bring chaos to the rest of the brain. Sort of gives me fear, a sense that I'm losing control of holding my brain in one place. And let's throw it another way around. Let's say a helicopter comes and lands in front of me in the garden. What happens then? Well, I now instantly have focus. My brain is brought back in control and the chaos has ended straight away. Instantly. I now feel that I have control in my brain by focusing on something. But then when I take away this focus, and if I look at focus, it always seems to be going outwards. But when I take away this focus, then it feels like I'm losing control of the rest of the brain. Now, I'm not going to go any deeper in that because the main point of me talking about this video was to kind of give an idea of what it looks like to go inwards. When I look into these sort of things, let's just say for boredom, I often speak to many of people about all these subjects, and if somebody came to me and said, what's boredom? Then it'd probably take me an hour or two to help them go through it. But I would always start off with, I don't know what boredom is. Let's have a look. We usually go from there. So what I've just talked about here was pretty brief, and like I say, I can probably spend hours on this, but the idea is why do we all look outwards for somebody else to tell us what's going on with our own brain? We look at books and Google and gurus and psychologists and so on. Let's just say I wanted to know what boredom is, and I said to somebody, what's boredom? And they say, oh, this is what boredom is. Then it's kind of like an easy way out. I've not even looked at my own boredom, but I'll just stick with the answer you give me. It's much safer. I don't want to look in. I admit it's pretty hard to look in. Terrifying, actually. Boredom's probably one of the harder ones to look into. If you go really deep into it, you'll kind of see why. But, you know, if you just start off with saying, well, let me have a look at my boredom. What does it feel like? Well, I feel like I'm losing control and I can't take this. Oh, okay. Why? Why can't you take it? What's happening at this point? I just think that looking inwards like this is worth way more than what anyone else can tell you. In fact, I don't think anybody can tell you anything. Nobody can help you. I can't help you. You can't help me. You can only help yourself. And I think you can only help yourself by actually going in. I wasn't there a phrase what somebody said, the only way out is in. I think that's quite true. But anyway, the main purpose of the video was just to try and say, why do we always look for knowledge rather than looking within? Because I think that when we look within, not only do we learn more, but it changes the brain. You see, if I've looked into the whole of my boredom, all of it, where it comes from, where it stems from, the motivation, so on, then I won't feel bored again. And I won't fear it. Anyway, thanks very much for listening.